First story. Whispers in the Mist by Thompson. It was a chilly autumn evening in the small town of Ravenswood, nestled in the dense woods of upstate New York. The street lights flickered weakly as I made my way home after a late-night shift at the local bookstore. The mist crept through the alleys, creating an eerie ambience that sent shivers down my spine. As I turned into an unfamiliar shortcut, the path became narrower, surrounded by ancient trees with gnarled branches that seemed to reach out for me. The dim glow of the streetlights barely penetrated the thick fog, and a sense of unease settled in my stomach. I quickened my pace, the echoes of my footsteps bouncing off unseen walls. Midway through the alley, I heard soft whispers, indistinct words carried by the wind. I strained my ears, trying to make sense of the mysterious voices. The whispers seemed to be beckoning me deeper into the mist. Ignoring my instincts, I continued forward, feeling the temperature drop with every step. As the fog thickened, shapes emerged from the shadows. Silhouettes of people, their features obscured, moved silently around me. My heart raced as I realized they were watching, their eyes unseen but undoubtedly fixed on me. Panic set in, and I broke into a run, the whispers growing louder and more urgent. Abruptly, the alley opened into a small clearing. In the center stood an old oak tree, its branches twisted into grotesque forms. At its base, a circle of hooded figures stood, their faces hidden in the darkness. The whispers reached a crescendo, echoing hauntingly in the mist. Terrified, I stumbled backward, but my escape was blocked by the hooded figures. They began to chant in an ancient language, their voices rising and falling in a hypnotic rhythm. I felt a strange energy in the air, a force pulling me towards the center of the circle. In desperation, I screamed for help, but my voice was swallowed by the fog. Just as I thought I would succumb to the surreal ritual, the mist dissipated, revealing the alley once again. The hooded figures were gone, and the whispers faded into the night. Gasping for breath, I stumbled out of the alley, my mind racing with disbelief. Ravenswood appeared normal, as if nothing had transpired. But the memory of those hooded figures and their haunting whispers lingered, etched into my consciousness, a chilling reminder that the line between reality and the supernatural is thinner than we dare to admit. Second story. The Silent Pursuer by Reynolds. It was a crisp winter night in the quiet town of Silverlake, nestled at the edge of a vast forest in Oregon. The snow-covered streets glistened under the soft glow of lampposts as I walked home from a friend's house. The only sound was the crunch of snow beneath my boots, creating a serene yet isolating atmosphere. As I turned onto Willow Street, a feeling of unease washed over me. I glanced over my shoulder, dismissing the sensation as mere paranoia. But there, at the end of the dimly lit street, stood a figure obscured by the shadows. A shiver ran down my spine as I quickened my pace. The figure, a silhouette against the pale moonlight, matched my every step. Panic set in, and I fumbled for my phone to call a friend, seeking solace in the familiar voice on the other end. But as I dialed, a chilling realization struck me. The footsteps behind me mirrored the rhythmic tapping of my fingers on the phone screen. I crossed the street, hoping to lose my silent follower, but the ominous presence persisted. Fear gnawed at my insides as I approached my apartment building, the entrance bathed in the cold glow of a malfunctioning streetlight. I rushed inside, fumbling for my keys, and cast a wary glance over my shoulder. The figure stood at the entrance, still shrouded in darkness. Without uttering a word, They followed me into the lobby, their gaze fixed on me with an unsettling intensity. I sprinted up the stairs, my heart pounding in my chest, and burst into my apartment. Locking the door behind me, I peered through the peephole, expecting the figure to vanish into the night. Instead, they stood motionless in the hallway, an enigmatic silhouette against the apartment doors. Hours passed as I huddled in the darkness, my eyes fixed on the door. The figure remained, an unrelenting sentinel outside my sanctuary. The night stretched on, the silence broken only by the distant howl of the wind. As dawn painted the sky in hues of pink and orange, the figure finally retreated, disappearing into the early morning mist. Exhausted and shaken, I ventured outside, finding no trace of my silent pursuer. Silverlake returned to its usual calm, but the memory of that relentless shadow lingered, a reminder that even in the most familiar places, darkness can take on a tangible form, silently stalking us through the night. Third story: Echoes of the Abandoned Asylum, by Alexei Petrov. The city lights of Prague glimmered in the distance as I navigated the labyrinthine alleys of the historic old town. It was a moonless night, and the cobblestone streets echoed with the distant chimes of the astronomical clock. I had spent the evening exploring the city's rich history, but as I ventured into the lesser-known corners, a chill settled in the air. My path led me to an alleyway that seemed to defy the natural layout of the city. Tall, decrepit buildings loomed overhead, their facades adorned with faded murals depicting scenes from a bygone era. The air was thick with an unsettling silence, broken only by the distant hum of electricity and the occasional gust of wind. As I walked deeper into the alley, the narrow cobblestone path gave way to an open square surrounded by buildings that stood like sentinels guarding a long-forgotten secret. In the center of the square, an ominous structure emerged, the abandoned asylum of St. Agnes. The asylum, with its boarded-up windows and crumbling brick walls, exuded an aura of despair. Intrigued and apprehensive, I approached, the crunch of gravel beneath my shoes echoing in the empty square. The wind whispered through the shattered windows, carrying with it the ghostly memories of those who had once been confined within. Against my better judgment, I entered the asylum, the creaking door opening with an eerie groan. The air inside was thick with a musty scent, and the darkness seemed to swallow the feeble beam of my flashlight. I navigated through dilapidated hallways, my footsteps reverberating like distant drumbeats. As I explored the decaying rooms, a faint echo reached my ears, a distant sobbing that seemed to dance at the edge of perception. I followed the haunting sound, each step bringing me deeper into the bowels of the asylum. The sobbing intensified, mingling with incoherent whispers that clawed at the fringes of my sanity. In a forgotten chamber, I stumbled upon a flickering lantern casting eerie shadows on the walls. There, in the dim light, I saw apparitions, ethereal figures dressed in tattered asylum gowns. Their eyes, hollow and tormented, locked onto mine as if pleading for release from a spectral prison. Fear gripped me, and I tried to flee, but the once familiar hallways shifted and twisted, disorienting me in a maze of despair. The sobbing turned into anguished wails, and the ghostly figures closed in, their spectral hands reaching out as if to pull me into their otherworldly realm. With a burst of adrenaline, I broke free from the nightmarish trance, racing through the winding corridors until I stumbled back into the moonlit square. The asylum loomed behind me, its windows now emanating an otherworldly glow. As I left the haunted place, the sobbing faded into the distance, leaving only the echoes of a tormented past. The night continued its silent vigil over Prague, the city's secrets and horrors concealed within its historic streets. I walked away, haunted by the lingering presence of the asylum's spectral inhabitants, forever etched in the tapestry of that fateful night. Fourth story: The Vanishing Fog, by Mia Anderson. The coastal town of Port Haven, nestled along the cliffs of Northern California, was known for its breathtaking views of the Pacific Ocean. As the evening descended, a dense fog rolled in from the sea, shrouding the town in an impenetrable mist. I found myself on the cliffs, drawn by the rhythmic crashing of waves against the rocks below. The fog enveloped me like a ghostly embrace, reducing visibility to mere feet. The dim glow of streetlights struggled to pierce through the thick haze, casting eerie shadows that danced on the edges of my perception. I pressed on, the sound of my footsteps muffled by the ethereal cloak surrounding me. As I walked along the cliffside path, the air grew colder, and the fog seemed to thicken. Strange shapes materialized within the mist, silhouettes of figures that moved with an unsettling grace. Fear coiled in my stomach, and I hesitated, questioning the reality of the apparitions before me. The figures drew nearer, their forms shifting like wraiths in the night. Whispers emerged from the fog, indistinct and haunting. I strained to understand, catching fragments of words that sent shivers down my spine. It was as if the very air carried the secrets of forgotten souls. A sudden gust of wind swept through the fog, clearing a momentary path that revealed the town below. But as quickly as it had cleared, the mist closed in again, obscuring the world beyond the cliff. Panic set in, and I quickened my pace, the figures in the fog mirroring my movements with an unnerving precision. The path led to an ancient lighthouse standing sentinel against the turbulent sea. Its beacon, now barely visible through the fog, cast a feeble light that seemed to waver in the spectral mist. As I approached, the figures surrounded me, their whispers growing more insistent, their faces mere shadows in the fog. A sudden realization struck me. I was trapped in a surreal dance with the unknown. The fog, an otherworldly force, held me captive in its embrace, and the figures seemed to feed on my fear. Desperation fueled my actions as I stumbled backward, trying to break free from the phantom entourage. With each step, the fog receded, and the figures dissolved into the night. I found myself standing at the edge of the cliff, the lighthouse looming behind me like a guardian of the supernatural. The fog, now a distant memory, revealed the tranquil town of Port Haven bathed in the moonlight. As I made my way home, the echoes of the vanishing fog lingered, a reminder that even in the most picturesque landscapes, the boundary between reality and the supernatural is as elusive as the dissipating mist along the cliffs of Port Haven. Fifth story: The Enchanted Woods, by Lucas Martinez. In the heart of the Black Forest in Germany, where ancient trees stood like silent sentinels, I found myself on a solitary night walk. The moon cast a pale glow on the moss-covered ground, and the air was thick with the scent of damp earth. The towering trees seemed to lean in, whispering secrets as I ventured deeper into the enchanted woods. As I followed a narrow path, the shadows played tricks on my senses. Unseen creatures rustled in the underbrush, and the wind carried eerie melodies that seemed to emanate from the very heart of the forest. The atmosphere was charged with an otherworldly energy, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the ancient spirits of the woods were watching. The path led to a clearing bathed in silvery moonlight, revealing a circle of weathered stones arranged in a mysterious pattern. In the center stood an ancient oak, its branches intertwined like gnarled fingers reaching for the heavens. The air buzzed with a palpable energy, and an ethereal glow emanated from the stones. As I stood in the clearing, a figure emerged from the shadows, a cloaked figure with piercing eyes that seemed to see into the depths of my soul. The forest fell silent as the figure approached, a staff in hand, adorned with symbols that spoke of ancient rituals. Without uttering a word, the figure gestured toward the stones, inviting me to step into the circle. A mixture of curiosity and trepidation gripped me, and against my better judgment, I entered the mystical ring. The air crackled with energy, and the ancient symbols on the stones seemed to come alive with an otherworldly light. As the figure began to chant in a language unknown to me, the ground trembled beneath my feet. Shadows danced on the edges of my vision, and the very fabric of reality seemed to warp and weave. I felt a connection to forces beyond comprehension, a tether to a realm where the boundaries between the seen and unseen blurred. The chant reached a crescendo, and the ancient oak in the center of the circle began to sway as if in rhythm with the mystical incantation. The moonlight intensified, casting a luminous glow on the clearing. My senses were overwhelmed, and I glimpsed fleeting visions of mythical creatures and forgotten deities. Abruptly, the chanting ceased, and the forest fell silent once more. The cloaked figure, their purpose fulfilled, nodded in acknowledgement. The stones dimmed, and the ancient oak returned to a state of tranquil stillness. As I stepped out of the circle, the figure disappeared into the shadows, leaving me alone in the enchanted woods. The path back seemed different, as if the very nature of the forest had shifted. The ancient spirits, appeased by the ritual, allowed me to depart unharmed. As I emerged from the black forest, the moonlight bathed the landscape in an eerie glow, a silent witness to the mystical encounter that unfolded beneath its celestial gaze. Sixth story, The Desolate Outskirts, by Emily Chang. It was a frigid winter night in the remote town of Coldwater, located on the outskirts of Siberia. The wind howled through the desolate landscape, carrying with it the whispers of long-forgotten tales. I found myself walking along the icy streets, the only soul venturing into the heart of the frozen wilderness. The town had an air of abandonment, with dilapidated buildings standing as silent witnesses to a bygone era. The dim glow of flickering streetlights cast long shadows on the snow-covered ground, creating an eerie tapestry of darkness and frozen stillness. I pulled my scarf tighter, my breath forming clouds in the icy air. As I approached the edge of Coldwater, I noticed a derelict mansion standing alone in the desolate landscape. Its windows, shattered and lifeless, stared out into the frozen night like vacant eyes. Intrigued by the eerie beauty of decay, I decided to explore the mansion, my footsteps crunching on the snow-covered path. The front door groaned open, revealing a grand foyer frozen in time. Dust-covered furniture and tattered curtains adorned the forgotten space. The air inside was stale, carrying with it the scent of decay and abandonment. I ascended the creaking staircase, each step echoing through the empty halls. In one of the rooms, I discovered an old phonograph standing like a relic of the past. With a sense of nostalgia, I wound up and placed the needle on a worn vinyl record. The haunting melody filled the mansion, the sound echoing through the desolate halls as if awakening the spirits of a bygone era. As the music played, a chilling breeze swept through the room, extinguishing the candles that flickered in the corners. Shadows danced on the walls, taking on shapes that seemed to move with a life of their own. The temperature dropped, and I felt an unseen presence in the darkness, watching, waiting. A distant howl echoed through the night, sending a shiver down my spine. I turned to leave, but the mansion seemed to resist my departure. The walls groaned, and the music on the phonograph warped into a dissonant symphony. The shadows converged, forming a spectral figure that materialized before my eyes. The figure, a ghostly apparition of a woman in a tattered gown, reached out as if pleading for release from the icy grip of the mansion's curse. Panic set in, and I stumbled backward, my footsteps echoing through the haunted halls. The apparition followed, its mournful wails echoing in the frozen night. As I fled the mansion, the temperature rose, and the distant howls faded into silence. Cold water returned to its desolate stillness, the abandoned mansion standing as a testament to the supernatural forces that linger in the frigid winds of the Siberian wilderness. 7th story. The Haunting Melody of Venice, by Alessandra Rossi. Venice, a city of timeless beauty and mystique, unfolded its labyrinthine canals and narrow alleys under the silvery glow of the Italian moon. It was during the annual carnival that I found myself wandering the deserted streets, the echoes of revelry still resonating in the cool night air. The masquerade masks, now discarded, lay scattered like fallen dreams. As I strolled along the quiet canals, a distant melody reached my ears. A hauntingly beautiful tune played on a violin. The sound seemed to emanate from an ancient Venetian palazzo, its windows adorned with faded velvet curtains. Drawn by the enchanting music, I followed the echoes through a series of narrow passages, each one leading deeper into the heart of the city's secrets. The canal shimmered with a ghostly reflection of the moon, casting an ethereal glow on the water. The melody grew more pronounced, weaving a tale of love and loss that resonated with the very soul of Venice. My heart quickened as I approached the palazzo, its grandeur juxtaposed against the quietude of the night. Upon entering the palazzo, I found myself in a dimly lit chamber adorned with exquisite artwork and antique furniture. The source of the haunting melody revealed itself. An enigmatic figure, draped in a tattered cloak, stood in the center of the room, caressing the strings of a weathered violin. The figure turned, revealing a mask with expressive eyes that seemed to pierce through the shadows. Without a word, they beckoned me to join them. As if in a trance, I stepped forward, the melody enveloping me in a cocoon of melancholy and longing. The chamber transformed into a timeless ballroom, its walls adorned with murals that depicted scenes of a bygone era. Couples in elaborate costumes twirled in a spectral dance, their laughter echoing through the ages. The enigmatic figure guided me into the dance, their movements graceful and haunting. As the waltz unfolded, the room blurred with a surreal intensity. I glimpsed faces in the shadows, masked revelers from centuries past, frozen in a perpetual dance of beauty and despair. The air was charged with a bittersweet energy, and I felt a connection to the ephemeral nature of time. Abruptly, the music reached a crescendo, and the grand ballroom disintegrated like an illusion. I found myself back in the deserted palazzo, the enigmatic figure vanishing into the shadows. The haunting melody lingered in the air, leaving me standing alone in the silence of the Venetian night. As I stepped back onto the deserted streets, the echoes of the waltz faded into the canals, swallowed by the timeless embrace of the city. Venice, a living tapestry of dreams and memories, revealed a glimpse of its mysterious soul, reminding me that beneath its picturesque facade, the ancient spirits of the canal-laden city danced in the moonlit shadows. 8th story. The Midnight Circus, by Gabriel Vasquez. Under the neon glow of Las Vegas, where the city lights competed with the brilliance of the stars, I embarked on a night walk that would lead me to the outskirts of the entertainment mecca. The distant hum of slot machines and laughter faded as I ventured into the desert, where the desert winds whispered secrets carried by the night. As I approached the fringes of the city, an otherworldly glow illuminated the horizon. Intrigued, I followed the surreal light to discover a hidden oasis, a tented circus surrounded by the vast expanse of the desert. The scent of popcorn and cotton candy wafted through the air, a paradoxical fragrance in the midst of the arid landscape. The circus, a relic from a bygone era, stood as if frozen in time. The tent, adorned with faded images of mythical creatures and mysterious performers, beckoned me with an irresistible allure. As I entered, the flap of the tent closed behind me, sealing off the outside world and plunging me into a realm of surreal wonders. The air inside the circus tent buzzed with the energy of the extraordinary. Performers, their faces hidden behind elaborate masks, executed gravity-defying feats. Acrobats twirled through the air, contortionists bent their bodies in unnatural ways, and fire dancers painted the darkness with mesmerizing trails of light. In the center of the circus ring, a ringmaster with a top hat and a voice that echoed with an otherworldly charm beckoned me to join the audience. The crowd, a silent assembly of masked faces, watched with unblinking eyes as the surreal spectacle unfolded. As the night progressed, the atmosphere within the tent grew increasingly surreal. Shadows danced on the periphery of my vision, and the faces of the performers contorted into grotesque expressions. The once jubilant circus music warped into a dissonant melody that seemed to play on the fringes of madness. In the midst of the mesmerizing chaos, the ringmaster approached me, their eyes gleaming with an otherworldly intensity. Without uttering a word, they extended a gloved hand, inviting me to partake in the grand finale. As I stepped into the center of the ring, the circus tent transformed into a kaleidoscope of vivid colors and twisted reality. The desert winds howled outside, but within the tent, time seemed to stand still. The performers, now ethereal entities, danced with spectral grace around me. The ringmaster chanted incantations that resonated with the very essence of the desert night. The circus became a portal to a realm where the boundaries between reality and illusion merged into a singular, transcendent experience. Abruptly, the tent flap opened, and I found myself back on the outskirts of Las Vegas. The neon lights of the city flickered in the distance, and the desert winds carried the echoes of the midnight circus into the vast expanse. The surreal encounter left me breathless, a witness to a fleeting spectacle that defied the conventions of the ordinary. Ninth Story: The Subterranean Symphony by Isabella Moreno. Beneath the bustling metropolis of Tokyo, where the neon signs painted the night in a kaleidoscope of colors, I embarked on an unconventional night walk descending into the city's labyrinthine subway system. I found myself in a realm where the echoes of footsteps and the distant rumble of trains created a symphony of urban life. My journey led me to a forgotten station, an abandoned platform lost in the depths of Tokyo's subterranean maze. The air was heavy with the scent of damp concrete and the distant hum of electrical currents. As I explored the deserted station, a haunting melody reached my ears, emanating from the depths of an unused tunnel. Intrigued, I followed the enchanting music, my footsteps echoing in the deserted corridors. The tunnel opened into a cavernous chamber, its walls adorned with graffiti and remnants of an underground art scene. In the center of the space stood a solitary figure, a musician playing a cello, their silhouette illuminated by the soft glow of a single flickering light. The cellist's fingers danced across the strings, conjuring a melody that resonated with the very heartbeat of the city above. The music, both melancholic and hopeful, reverberated through the subterranean chamber, creating a surreal harmony that transcended the mundane world. As I approached, the cellist acknowledged my presence with a nod, inviting me to sit among the scattered debris of the underground sanctuary. The echoes of the music surrounded me like a cocoon, and I became a silent spectator to the subterranean symphony. As the cellist played, the chamber transformed into a transient realm where the boundaries between reality and imagination blurred. Images of Tokyo's vibrant streets and hidden corners materialized in the shadows, each note a brushstroke on a canvas of urban dreams. The subway station, once a forgotten relic, became a portal to a world where time seemed to stretch and contract. The cellist's music, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, echoed through the tunnels like a subterranean heartbeat, connecting the present to a tapestry of stories untold. Eventually, the last note lingered in the air, and the cellist lowered the bow. The underground sanctuary fell into silence, the echoes of the symphony dissipating into the darkness. With a nod of gratitude, the musician vanished into the shadows, leaving me alone in the abandoned chamber. As I ascended to the surface, the city's vibrant lights greeted me once again. Tokyo, with its skyscrapers and bustling streets, seemed to resonate with the subterranean symphony that lingered in my memory. The unconventional night walk had unveiled a hidden layer of the city, where the underground currents of creativity and resilience flowed like an eternal river beneath the surface. 10th story. The Murmurs of Stonehenge, by Oliver Harrison. In the ancient plains of Salisbury, England, I embarked on a night walk that would lead me to the iconic Stonehenge, a place steeped in mystery and ancient whispers. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an ethereal glow over the prehistoric stones that stood in silent vigil against the passage of time. As I approached the megalithic monument, the air seemed charged with a primal energy. The stones, weathered by centuries of wind and rain, loomed like ancient sentinels, their silent whispers echoing through the night. The shadows played tricks on the landscape, and the distant rustle of leaves hinted at the presence of unseen forces. I walked among the towering stones, feeling a connection to a realm beyond the ordinary. The night seemed to intensify the mystical aura of Stonehenge, and the air thrummed with an ancient song that transcended the limitations of human perception. In the heart of the stone circle, I noticed a peculiar formation, a smaller arrangement of rocks nestled within the larger circle. As I approached, a soft murmur reached my ears, a chorus of voices that seemed to emanate from the very heart of the earth. The stones, weathered and moss-covered, resonated with the vibrations of an unseen force. As I touched the stones, an inexplicable connection formed, and the ancient whispers became coherent messages. The voices spoke of forgotten rituals, celestial alignments, and the spirits that lingered in the shadows of time. It was as if the stones themselves held the memories of civilizations long gone, and I became a witness to their silent conversations. The night deepened, and the moon cast long shadows that danced on the ancient stones. The murmur of Stonehenge intensified, weaving a tapestry of stories that transcended the boundaries of history and myth. The megaliths, bathed in the moonlight, became conduits to a realm where the past and present coexisted in a timeless dance. As dawn approached, I left Stonehenge, the ancient whispers fading into the morning mist. The megalithic monument stood silent once again, its secrets guarded by the passage of countless centuries. The night walk had unraveled the enigmatic tapestry of Stonehenge, leaving me with a profound sense of connection to the primordial forces that linger in the shadows of the ancient stones. Thank you for joining us for the whole video. That video you see on screen is one of my favorite. Check it out. If you've enjoyed these horror stories, show your support by hitting the subscribe button. Did this tale send chills down your spine? Let me know in the comments.